Hey, GW coming to you live. Saturday morning, we're just watching some horror films. Hey, couple of things before I get into the movie that I just watched that I think you guys would probably like. Um, there's been a lot of news about the new Texas Chainsaw Massacre film. And if you don't know anything about it, let me bring you up to speed. Fede Alvarez, who did the film Don't Breathe, is actually directing and producing this, I believe. The story is going to take place right after the 1974 version. So it's going to be one of them deals where every other movie in the canon, starting with part two, never existed. So part two, part three, Next Generation, the one with Jessica Biel, Leatherface, they all just don't matter. This is going to be a direct sequel. And one of the interesting things is when you read about it, Leatherface is going to be not a young serial killer like he was in the first film. He is going to be a senior citizen killer, apparently. So it's going to be interesting to see how that plays out. I really love every one of those movies. I think they're great because the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, actually, when I saw it when I was about 15, scared the living crap out of me. And ever since then, I've had a connection, and I've read about the production, I've read about the controversies and this and that. And if you get a chance, there is a book about the filming of the movie, which you should read. The title escapes me right now, but I'll come up. But they shot in like 170-degree heat. The house where they filmed it, some of the things smelled so bad. The dinner scene apparently was very unbearable to shoot. And it just made for an interesting read on how far these actors went to put out this movie. So definitely give that a check out. Read about that. See what's going on. Um so anyway, like I said, pandemic is still going on, but apparently we are moving to 75% capacity in restaurants, and that's good. So, excuse me. So anyway, I've been taking it upon myself to get involved in or watch a lot of old 70s and 80s horror films. And I watched a really good one today, guys, that you may or may not have heard. It's called Rituals. And it's from 1977 and it stars Hal Holbrook. Now, if that name is familiar to you guys, he played in Creepshow. Creepshow 1. He was in the story The Crate. He was the one that at the end of the film, or the end of the story rather, killed his girlfriend Billy in the film. If you guys remember the story, you know why Billy had to go. And Billy was played by Adrienne Barbeau, by the way, guys. So he carries this movie, and this movie is very, very awesome. It's a cross between Deliverance and The Hills Have Eyes. And it is probably one of the best backwoods slasher films ever made, because I think this was one of the original backwoods slasher films, if not the first. But what happens is, in the film, there is 5 doctors that want to go on an annual camping retreat. And it seems like they do this thing every year, but this year they should have stayed home. Why, guys? Because there is something or someone in the woods where they're camping that starts off terrorizing them. They wake up one morning, their boots are stolen. Next thing you know, it escalates to murder. And by the time the film culminates into the conclusion, it not only puts you through the ringer, because it grabs you and it takes a hold of you, and you really want to see what in the hell is going on in these woods, And for the 70s, it had a little bit of, I wouldn't say gore, but shocking scenes. In fact, the cover of the movie, if you guys pull it up, has a guy burning tied up in a rope. Now, if that doesn't scream attention, I don't know what does. But the film is awesomely acted, and it is directed by, let me see, cinematography, written and directed by Peter Carter. And Peter Carter, I think, this movie, if it's his first film, I don't know, but if it was, this thing is awesome. Also, before I continue on this film, I want to make a clarification. Whenever I was talking about Mandy, I said the actress's name wrong. It is Reimsberg, not Reimsberg. It's in the inside cover. I didn't see it when I was reviewing it. So, as always, if I make a mistake, I clear it up. So, definitely check that out. Interesting thing. Makeup was done by Carl Fullerton. Now, that name might not mean anything to you guys, but if you're a fan of Friday the 13th, he did the makeup for part 2 and 3. And at the end, when the villain or entity, I'm not going to ruin it for you, is revealed, you can see the similarities between a certain other backwoods slasher killer and this one. So the makeup is very similar to that, guys. But I don't want to ruin it for you because this film is pretty awesome in the fact that the atmosphere is captured great. You feel like you don't know the end of the movie until it happens because you don't know what it is. And a lot of pictures seem to have borrowed from this. There's a death where a guy falls down the hill and breaks his neck. In the remake of Wrong Turn, the same thing happens, and I remember telling you guys that I thought it was, taken from all these films. So definitely give that a whirl. Another movie that we're going to review tomorrow is a little obscure picture starring Randy Quaid. Now, if you guys don't know Randy Quaid is, you need to check out your National Lampoon's Vacation, Christmas Vacation, and the much underrated and less well-known Christmas Vacation 2. Now, Randy Quaid, he flew off the grid a couple years ago, but in 1989, he did a horror film called Parents, which is a little obscure title. It was a horror satire set in 1950s, and it was dealing with cannibalism. So even Randy Quaid did a film, that the horror community considers a cult classic. So we're going to definitely check that out. I've seen that, years ago, but I'm going to rewatch it and I'm going to tell you guys all about it. But for right now, you can probably find Rituals on YouTube, and I'm telling you guys, it is a great film. Hal Holbrook acts this thing out and really plays the part, of a survivor, and he does it really well. And like I said, keep on track for the Texas Chainsaw Massacre news. We're going to see what's up with that. And just, in general, guys, I have been watching a lot of paranormal TV, which I never used to. But this weekend, I think Portals to Hell is on. And if you guys haven't seen that show, it's on the Travel Channel. Stars Jack Osborne. And they go to all these supposedly haunted locales. And it is pretty entertaining, and I'm, watching that, getting that, playing Outriders, But there really isn't too much to do. I mean, nothing really changed. But, I just figured, definitely check out Rituals. You can probably find it on YouTube, like I said. I got my Blu-ray copy from Amazon, and they're actually getting pretty awesome. They say 2-day shipping. Most of the stuff's in here, that we order in a day, so that's cool. I did not watch King Kong vs. Godzilla on HBO Max. Just haven't had the time, but if I do, I will definitely check it out. But I am looking forward to Mortal Kombat. And if you guys have not seen the trailer for this deal, this is no PG-13 stuff. This is like hard R, gory, constant fighting, true to the MA-17 Mortal Kombat 2 game and the games that subsequently followed. And it looks pretty awesome. Now, Warner Brothers did say, guys, that their deal with HBO Max will not renew next year. The reason being is because I guess Regal Cinemas have a 45-day exclusive to Warner Brothers movie catalog, which means that if Mortal Kombat 2 should come out next year, you will have to wait 45 days for it to then go to HBO Max, because it will play in Regal Cinemas. So that might deter a lot of people from getting HBO Max, because I know one of the pinnacles, the high points of that was that, you got the Warner Brothers catalog, you didn't have to leave the theater, you didn't have to leave your house. They come out same day, you're only paying the standard rate for HBO Max, but you get to see a first run movie for basically for free if you have the subscription. So it's going to be interesting to see how it plays out. I'm not affected one way or the other by it. I am going to keep HBO Max regardless, because in case you guys haven't noticed again, that they actually are buying up Cinemax stuff. Case in point, The Knick, which if you haven't seen that show, is a pretty interesting show. It's about the history of medical doctor procedures in the turn of the century, when everything was just starting. They were showing you how to do real primitive operations without anesthetic and stuff, and it's pretty stomach churning, but it is pretty cool. You guys should check that out if you're want to see how medicine first started. It's a pretty gritty show. I think it went two or three seasons, guys, and I think it quit. But yeah, so that's just kind of a bummer. But again, I can wait 45 days to watch a movie. It's no big. There really hasn't been anything on the horror front as far as, other than the Texas Chainsaw Massacre news. Halloween Kills is supposed to be one of the biggest horror films coming out. And it's a direct sequel to 2 years ago's Halloween with Jamie Lee Curtis, when she reprised her role as Laurie Strode. That film I thought was pretty awesome. I just wanted to know where they were going to go, because if you remember at the end of that film, Michael was trapped in a burning basement and basically left with no way out. So it's going to be interesting to see how Deborah Hill and John Carpenter and all the directors and executive producers take the story from here. But definitely check out Rituals. I'm telling you guys, it is pretty awesome. Now, the cut I got is completely uncut and uncensored, and it runs about 99 minutes. Now, I'm not sure, but I think there is a censored cut out there that runs about 85 minutes. So there's only about 5 minutes of stuff that they cut. And when you watch it, it's not very graphic. Of course, I can't compare because I never saw the censored version. But definitely give Rituals a chance. It's really cool, and especially if you like backwoods slashers. And with summertime coming up, I know a lot of people are going hiking and, going into the woods for whatever. But it's always awesome to watch a backwoods slasher film or a Friday the 13th movie, that's set in the woods, and then go in the woods, because then, there is a point where you look at like a tree or a path and it reminds you of that movie, and you just get a slight chill. And I always loved that. To me, that was one of the coolest things about horror, is that it can make you feel, like you're actually near a movie, or something catastrophic or tragic or, terrifying could probably happen. So, but yeah, I wouldn't steer you wrong. Definitely check it out. It is an oldie, but it is definitely a classic. And it's probably one of my favorite movies next to Mandy, just because the first time you watch it, the way it hooks you and reels you in till the very end, and it is pretty cool, and it's pretty shocking. And it's just like one of those domino effects where one thing goes wrong and then the rest of it just crashes. It's great. So anyway, definitely check out Rituals, and keep an eye on the Texas Chainsaw Massacre news. I'm GW. I will see you later. We'll come back with tomorrow's review of Parents, and I'll tell you all about Randy Quaid's cannibalistic character.